So almost 19 years ago, my husband and I got married, and on our honeymoon we went to Greece. And it was not the first time I'd had baklava, but it's where I had the best baklava. So today we're gonna make it. I'm gonna start with 6 ounces of pistachios that I've already ground, but we're gonna grind them a little more. 6 ounces of pine nuts, 6 ounces of walnuts, and 6 ounces of almonds. I'm gonna add a teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of cardamom, and a 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. You want to grind until it's kind of, I like my pieces really small. If you like chunks of nuts, keep them with the manual grinder that way and just stir the other ingredients in by hand. I just prefer mine a little smaller. So about this consistency. Now I'm going to take, I have a 9 by 13 inch casserole dish, and I have a cup of melted butter that has been cooled. And I'm just going to, you don't want hot butter. It'll mess up the phyllo dough. I'm just going to butter the bottom of the pan. You always want to butter the bottom and the sides so that it doesn't stick. But you want to do it lightly. If you over butter, i.e. you use way too much, then your baklava is going to be soggy. Nobody likes a soggy baklava. Now I bought a pound of phyllo dough, and it came in 2 packages. So I'm going to start with the first one. If yours comes in 1 giant package, you're going to need to cover it with something while you're working. Otherwise, it's going to dry out because either plastic wrap or a damp towel. Because mine came in 2 separate ones, I should be able to work fast enough that it does not dry out. So, also if your phyllo dough comes in bigger sizes, then you might need to cut it in half. Mine did not. It comes in exactly the size I needed. So I'm going to take 2 pieces of my phyllo dough. I'm going to set them right in the bottom of my 9 by 13 inch casserole dish. And then we're going to very lightly butter. Then we're going to add 2 more. We're going to do this until we get 8 sheets on the bottom layer. 2 more. And butter. Two more. Butter. You really want to make sure you get the corners and the edges, because those are what are going to cook first. And you don't want them to get too crunchy. You want it crispy, but not too hard to bite into. 2 more. And butter. go. Now we're going to take about 1/5 of our nut mixture, a couple tablespoons, and we're just going to sprinkle. So I use 4 different kinds of nuts. You may use whatever nuts you want to use. If you don't like, let's say, pistachios, don't use them. You don't have to. It's not a requirement. You can use all almonds, all walnuts, all pine nuts, whatever makes you happy. 2 more sheets of phyllo, butter, the other thing is your phyllo needs to be thawed. You'll find this in the freezer section at the grocery store. I left it in the refrigerator overnight and then on my counter for an hour so that it had time to come to room temperature before we got to working with it. More nuts. Guess what? 2 more sheets of phyllo dough. So I'm going to need 8 sheets from here to finish the top. 8 to 10. You can choose how many you want to use. And then we'll keep the rest. I'll put them back in a Ziploc bag and freeze them until we need them. But again, we're going to do the same thing we did on the bottom. We're going to take 2 sheets at a time. Oof, I might need a 3rd one on this one. If you ever have it where it's coming up and you can't get it to go back down, just add a 3rd sheet. It won't harm it. Phyllo dough is so thin. That's why we add 8 to 10 sheets at the top. We're going to save that for another time. I'm going to finish this with the butter, and then we're going to cut it. So it's very important that you cut the phyllo before you bake it. Otherwise, you're going to end up with it not being cut smoothly. It will crack at the bottom. So depending on what shape you want, squares, diamonds, triangles, whatever makes you happy. I'm going to cut into diamonds. So I'm going to start at this corner, and I'm going to cut all the way down, like this. Now I'm going to melt a little bit more butter and add it over the top because I think some of these pieces are going to be too dry. There just wasn't enough butter at the end. So I'm going to melt about another 1/4 cup and then we'll be back. So I have just another 1/4 cup of butter, so half a stick. We're just going to lightly brush over our pieces to make sure that they don't get too crunchy when we bake them. This bakes in a 350-degree oven for about 50 minutes. That's 50. And then while it is baking, we will make our sauce. So 350-degree ovens, 50 minutes, and then we'll be back to make the sauce. So our baklava is in the oven. Now I'm going to make the sauce. In my saucepan I have a cup of sugar. I'm going to add to that a cup of water. I'm going to stir, and then we're going to bring this to a boil on medium heat, just basically until the sugar dissolves. That's all we're looking for. I'm going to stir it together, and I'm going to let it sit until the sugar dissolves. This should take 4 or 5 minutes. Just let it come to a boil so that the sugar can disappear, and then we'll add the rest of our ingredients. Okay, so our sugar water has boiled. I'm turning it down just because I don't want it to overboil. I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of cardamom, a teaspoon of vanilla, and a half a cup of honey. I'm going to stir this. And then we're going to let this simmer until the baklava is finished. It needs about 20 minutes. So our baklava is out of the oven. It was in for 50 minutes exactly. Our sauce has been simmering on the stove for about 20 minutes or so. Now we're just going to pour it over the top. You want both to be hot so that it absorbs it. Here we are. Now we're going to let this sit for at least an hour, hour and a half, and then we'll pull the slices out.